Hello there, Christendom. My name is Ethan James, and this is the Ethan James Podcast. Man, have I got a show for you today. We're going to be talking about a few things. First one is we're going to be taking another bite out of dispensationalism, talking about the whore of Babylon. Who is it? I'll give you a hint. It's not Russia or China. Next, we're going to be talking about the Jews again, but in contrast with Salvador and Bukele and how they went about getting rid of MS-13 gang members. After that, we're also going to be talking about Christian revival that's going on, happening in Iran and also here in the United States and around the world. So without further ado, we're just going to hop right into Revelation 17, 1 through 6, where it talks about the whore of Babylon. So here we go. Then one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came and said to me, "Come, and I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who is seated on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of those whose sexual immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk. And he carried me away into the spirit into a wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, holding in her hand a cup full of abominations and the impurities of her sexual immorality. And on her forehead was written the name of mystery, Babylon, the great mother of prostitutes and the earth's abominations. I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus." Whoa, so that's a lot, right? That's a very strong language. Fortunately, it gives us some clues as to who this whore of Babylon might be. Now, a lot of dispensationalists, what they do is they try and read the signs of the times of who this might be talking about. You know, some people say it's even America, that we're the great prostitute, that we do dealings with everybody basically. And they'll say Russia as well and China, and they have all sorts of reasons and whatnot. And they're trying to read the signs of the time and say, okay, well, this is what looks like that. But there's some clues here, and we're going to take a look at them. So one of the things that it says here is that she is arrayed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, and it's a prostitute. So the thing that most convinced me of who this is talking about is actually in Exodus. So in Exodus, they are going over the rules of the tabernacle and what the priests are supposed to wear. And you guessed it, the priests shall be wearing a breastplate of judgment, and in skilled work in the style of the ephod you shall make it gold, blue, and purple and scarlet yarns. In fine twined linen you shall make it. It shall be square and doubled a span its length and a span its breadth. You shall set in forth 4 rows of stone, a row of sardis, topaz, carbuncle, and shall be the first row. So, talking about precious stones and then also the color. So this, to me, is kind of the biggest indicator of who this is talking about. It's talking about apostate Israel. And we also know in the Old Testament that this is not new language to be talking about apostate Israel. Actually, in Ezekiel, I find it's probably the most convincing section, although Hosea is all about this. Hosea is told to marry a prostitute, and because it's a representation of where Israel is at, how she lusts after other gods and goes towards other gods. But Ezekiel is even more hardcore, basically. And let's see, it's 16:16, and then everything after that is pretty good. Okay. But you trusted in your beauty and played the whore because of your renown and lavished your whorings on any passerby. Your beauty became his. You took some of your garments and made for yourself colorful shrines, and on them played the whore like has never been, nor shall ever be. You also took your beautiful jewels of my gold and my silver, which I had given you, and you made for yourself images of men, and with them played the whore. And you took your embroidered garments to cover them, and set my oil and the incense before them. And also the bread that I gave you, I fed you with fine flour and oil and honey, and set before them pleasing aroma. And so it was, declares the Lord, you took your sons and your daughters whom you had borne to me, and these sacrificed them to be devoured when your whorings too small a matter, that you slaughtered my children and delivered them up as an offering by fire to them. And in all your abominations and your whorings, you did not remember the days of your youth when you were naked and bare, wallowing in your blood. Yeah, so clearly Israel has played this role before. God has called them, basically called them a whore in the past. So this fits very much about who the whore of Babylon is. And there's also one other passage that speaks to this. And as we go back to Revelation 17, talks about the blood of martyrs, forehead written mystery, great mother of prostitutes, abominations, drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of martyrs of Jesus. So Matthew 23:30 through 37, this is Jesus giving his woes to the Pharisee, basically. And this is what he says. And you say, if we had lived in the days of our ancestors, we would not have taken part with them in shedding of the blood of the prophets. So you testify against yourselves that you are the descendants of those who murdered the prophets. Go ahead then and complete what your ancestors started, you snakes, you brood of vipers. How will you escape being condemned to hell? Therefore I am sending you prophets and sages and teachers. Some of them you will kill and crucify, others you will flog in your synagogues and pursue them from town to town. And so upon you will come all the righteous blood that has been shed on earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Truly I tell you, all this will come to this generation. Come on, this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who killed the prophets and stoned those who sent to you. How often I have longed to gather your children together as hens gather their chicks under the wings, and you were not willing. So, yeah, as we're looking again, blood of martyrs, basically this is saying how they've done unjust killings before, and they killed the prophets beforehand. So this is basically the blood of the martyrs that it's talking about in there. All these signs indicate that this is clearly talking about apostate Israel. Now, I think some might say that this doesn't, I mean, you could talk about this being modern day Jews, but as it's talking about here with the beast of Revelation, as we talked about before last week, that the final beast that rises up has to be the Roman Empire. And it's the same beast because it's talking about the horns. It has 7 heads. And the whore of Babylon is riding it. And if you recall that the Jews basically got Pontius Pilate to kill Jesus. And they said, give us Barabbas instead of Jesus. And they had Rome crucify him. So it's the whore riding the beast, getting them to do whatever they want them to do. And then influencing them and their allegiances with Rome. So this is clearly, to me, talking about apostate Israel. And I don't know how you convince me otherwise, honestly. It takes away from prophecy that has been fulfilled already to say that it might be Russia, it might be China. It's like, why? How are you even gonna say that? It just doesn't make sense. So, yeah, there's our bite out of dispensationalism. The whore of Babylon, actually apostate Israel. So, well, moving on, now that we've got that done, we're going to be talking about the Jews. Things have been coming out. I've been doing some more research into it because, obviously there's this big tear between Israel and then also, Gaza and all this sort of thing. And it's been tit for tat for a lot of this. It's like they teach their kids to treat Jews as the devil, basically, and different parts of the Arab world. But they have done a lot of bad things. Also, they've displaced people. They've done killings and rapings and all these sort of things. But also, what is kind of crazy is just this. So this came out a few days ago, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And this is from the IDF also. Israeli Army database suggests, and let's change our view so we'll just go ahead and read it like this. Israeli Army database suggests that at least 83% of Gaza dead were civilians. Classified intelligence from May reveals Israel believed it had killed some 8,900 militants in its attacks on Gaza, indicating that a proportion of civilian slaughter view parallels in modern warfare, a joint investigation finds. Data internal Israeli intelligence database indicates that at least 83% of Palestinians killed in Israel's onslaught on Gaza were civilians. An investigation by 972 magazine, Local Call, and The Guardian can reveal figures obtained from classified database, which records the death of militants from Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, contradict a huge margin of public statements of Israeli army, and the government officials throughout the war, which have generally claimed 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 ratio civilian to militant casualties. Instead, the classified data backs up findings several studies. Yeah, so, I mean, whenever this thing first came out, my view of it has been that Hamas attacked Israel. And also the people of Gaza voted in Hamas. So this is all basically they're doing. But, something came out kind of early that we all kind of like looked over. After seeing a lot of the stuff that's been going on with this war, like the cell phones thing that blew up in people's pockets, like Israel's intelligence agency is incredibly smart, right? Like they're able to get all these cell phones into the main leader's hands and then blow them up and kill a lot of their leadership. So it's like their intelligence is pretty solid, and they had these phones way before all that. And there was also a notification that said that Israel actually knew that this attack was going to happen already. Now, in articles I read that were supportive of Israel said that they only found out hours before. You think, okay, hours before they find out about the attack, they still could do something, right? But do you really think that Israel only knew hours before their attack? Like, I don't know. I just don't think that's the case. I feel like that with their level of intelligence, that they should have known that this attack was coming well before, and people just kind of like glossed over that. I'm one of those people. And so to me, I'm like, okay, this kind of seems like a false flag, and Israel has been accused of false flags a lot in the past. So it doesn't look good. That doesn't look good to me. In contrast, you hear about all these civilians dying, and now it's like, this is from the Israel database. We had Bukele just recently with El Salvador being the most dangerous place in the world. I talked with a woman from my clinic, actually, who said that she was thinking about moving back now that it was safe, but you couldn't go outside during the day without possibility of being picked up and killed for like human sacrifice and whatnot. So that brings us to our clip that we're going to watch. And this is it's a few minutes here, but it's a really good section that we're just going to play all the way through because it talks about their tactic and what they did and what's actually going on there. So we're going to take a moment to watch this.
Faces, and then we went after them.
Okay, so that's the official. That's the official.
Yeah, that's the official.
What's the real?
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
I love that. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's a miracle. When gangs started attacking us back, basically they killed 87 people in 3 days, which for a country of 6 million people, it's crazy. Would be the equivalent 60 times. Would be the equivalent of having 5,000 deaths in 3 days. 5,000 murders in the U.S. in 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were in a meeting, and when it started, not when it ended, but when it started, we were in a meeting at my office, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., just watching, what was happening and trying to figure out what to do, because the problem with the gangs is that they don't only attack their objectives. When they want to create terror, they can attack anyone. So they can actually kill their grandma.
Yes.
And it's your victim.
Yes.
Because they don't care about their grandma. You care about their grandma, so it's your victim. If they kill their grandma, you have one death, and they have, they achieved the terror that they want to create. So they can kill anybody. A woman walking by, a guy working in the street, a taxi driver. They can kill anybody. And if the state goes after them, the state has no intention of killing or harming anybody, but the gang members. So you have 70,000 objectives, which were the 70,000 gang members, but they have 6 million possible targets. So it was almost an impossible task.
It's a guerrilla war, really.
Yes, but it was an impossible task, because you have to go after them. They were intertwined with the population, they were everywhere, and they were killing randomly. So how do you stop them? So we really tried to figure out what to do, and I basically said, well, we're looking into an impossible mission here. So we pray, and we.
You prayed in the meeting?
Yes, of course, several times. Yeah.
What did you pray for?
To the wisdom to win the war, to have. I thought at the time that we would have civilian casualties, so we said we prayed that the civilian casualties would be as low as possible, and we didn't have any civilian casualties.
And was everyone in the meeting comfortable with that?
Yes. All my security cabinet are believers. They all believe in God. We're a secular country, of course, but we all believe in God. So yeah.
MS-13 is one of the major gangs.
And they are satanic also.
That was my question. So very
I'm
little.
sorry.
No. But I would hope you will explain it, because very little has been written in the West about this.
They're satanic, yes.
But actually, literally, can you explain?
Well, they didn't start as a satanic organization. MS-13 started in Los Angeles, in the U.S., because Salvadorans weren't allowed to sell drugs by the Mexican gangs. So they created a gang that was called the 18th Street Gang, because they basically wanted to sell drugs in a street that was 18th Street over there. But then division started they started dividing themselves and started infighting. So they created the MS-13. And then MS-13 started outgrowing the other gangs, and they started exporting the organization to other parts of the U.S. And when Bill Clinton decided to deport those guys, he didn't tell our government at the time, I'm deporting this criminal. They just sent them here. And they came, there were few, but unchecked. At the same time, some laws were passed to protect minors from imprisonment. And of course, the gangs used that to recruit 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. So at the beginning it was, some youth causing harm, assaulting, trying to control their territory, selling drugs, things that are bad, but probably not critical. But they grew, and they started controlling territories. A few years later, they were actually a huge international criminal organization that they have bases in Italy, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, the U.S. Basically, a lot of major cities in the U.S. will have strongholds of.
Right outside Washington, D.C.
Yes, of course. And you have in Long Island and
yes.
In L.A. It's a huge criminal international organization. So they grew, and they started, killing more people just to get territory, or to fight against rival gangs, or to collect debts or money or whatever. But as the organization grew, they became satanic. They started doing satanic rituals. I don't know exactly when that started, but it was well documented.
Yes.
And in our arrest, we've even found authors and things like that.
Yes, I've seen them.
And so they became a satanic organization. And even when you sometimes when you interview gang members that are in prison, they would say, "I'm out of the gang." Of course, they're in prison, but they would say, "I'm not a member of the gang anymore." And when they asked them why, I remember I remember the news outlet that made it this, but it's a very well-known news outlet that made this interview with a gang member in person. We allowed them to go into prisons and do the interviews. And the guy that they asked him, "How many people have you killed?" And he said, "I don't remember." He didn't remember how many, probably 10, 20. He didn't remember. And then they asked him, "And what is your position in the gang?" He explained how he went up in positions, but I left the gang. I said, "Why did you left the gang?" And he said, "Well, because I was used to kill people, but I killed for territory. I killed to collect money. I killed for extortion. But I came to to this house, and they were about to kill a baby. And the killer that had killed tens of people, said, "Oh, wait, what are we doing? Why are we going to kill that baby?" And they told him, because the beast asked for a baby, so we have to give him a baby. So he said that he couldn't resist that, so he left the gang. He's in prison because he's a killer, but he left the gang because.
Well, there you have it. Yeah, these satanic MS-13 gangs. But really, the point that I wanted to make about this was that that compared to the Jews in Israel and how they're handling their war versus how El Salvador handled their war, which was a guerrilla warfare, basically, among the urban people, Israel's saying is that they're using civilians as human shields, and then yet they'll still bomb things, and lots of civilians have been killed. And the other way that people put this argument is basically like, okay, so say a burglar has your mom hostage and the police show up, and the police basically just shoot through your mom and kill the burglar, and they say, well, you're using your mother as a human shield. It's like, well, figure out another way. And this is just to juxtapose whoever the God of the Jews is versus the Christian God who Bukele reached out to whenever they prayed for wisdom. It's like these are obviously two different gods, and zero human casualties, civilian casualties. I don't know exactly how true that statement is, but I mean, I couldn't find any information about how many people were actually harmed in this, other than what human rights groups have been putting about how basically like 300 people have died in their prison. And it's like either from sickness or from murder or something like that. I mean, which doesn't sound great. Out of 70,000, 80,000 people, I mean, it's a high number. But I'm not, going to criticize that. I mean, law and order needs to be enforced, and these people obviously satanic and evil. And then, these human rights groups kind of like fighting against him on that. Personally, I take the side of Bukele on this, and law and order is important for keeping citizens safe. And it's like, if you don't, I mean, who are you going to prioritize? You're going to prioritize the human rights of the killers, or are you going to prioritize the human rights of the civilians? So, I am in full support of what he's doing. They even increased his term, actually, to indefinite, actually. And that, he can, I don't know exactly their constitution and whatnot, but they amended the constitution, and they have 60 people in their Congress, and it was 57 agreed to allow him to keep serving. So, and they say that's not democratic. And I was like, well, 57 of their elected congressmen actually said that it was okay. They amended it. So to me, that actually is democratic. But anyway, so the comparison between the two, Israel and El Salvador, obviously I think El Salvador figured it out, and it was to reach out to God. Israel, not so much. Moving on. And I think for future, what we're going to do is talk about like who is Israel, because that's a big one that a lot of people fight over. And that's in Romans. Paul talks about who Israel is, and it's not that the Jews are necessarily out. Obviously, it came for the Jew first, and then for the Gentile, or for the Jew first, then also to the Greek. But in Jesus Christ, there is no Jew or Greek. There is there's slave or free, no male or female. All are one in Christ Jesus. So that's pretty much all that I have about that one. Pull up what's next. Oh yeah, and the revival that's going on. We're at 24 minutes. I think we'll go ahead and, maybe we'll save it for next time. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on. We'll just go ahead and do it. Maybe go about to 30 minutes. So where is this at? It was on my chat GPT. Yeah, so my buddy asked me recently, as I was talking about how I believed revival was happening or coming, and he goes, how many Bible app downloads have there been this year? And this was a few months ago, and I was like, that's a great question. Like, I'm curious myself. And so I looked it up, and this is actually not the exact answer that I got before, but it's still an interesting answer. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up a little closer. And it's gone up. it's been going up a lot. Actually, in 2025, it says major uptick in momentum with 53 million new installs in just 6 months, with 798,000 installs on January 5th, demonstrate a clear seasonal surge in downloads, likely tied to New Year's resolutions and heightened spiritual engagement. So I mean, lots of people are downloading, and apparently this is also it's mostly in India. Let's see, what are the regions for the downloads? Let's check and see what it says. More than 80% of the installs occur outside of the U.S., highlighting the app's strong intentional reach, top-performing regions, India, Africa, and Latin America. So very interesting stuff. Who knows? Maybe a lot of that's in El Salvador. The Savior. And then the other thing here that we'll just make a quick mention before we get going is that in Iran, there was 1 million people accept Christ. It's Iran's Jesus Revolution. Mosques close as 1 million Muslims accept Christ. Amid talk of broader war in the Middle East, there's also news that the Jesus Revolution may be underway. An unprecedented number of Muslims are choosing to follow Christ, especially in Iran, as the people search for a better life. Iranians are growing tired of ayatollahs and a nation led by empty promises of their Islamic theocracy. An anonymous internal poll found that 80% now prefer a democratic government, and many are leaving Islam. You have a country with one of the highest drug addiction rates in the world. You have a country where corruption runs rampant. You have a country where more than half of the people live below the poverty line, explained Todd Nettleton of the Voice of the Martyrs. And the people of Iran are looking at this, and they are saying, wait a minute, if this is what Islam has brought us in the last 45 years, we're not interested. We want to know what the other options are. So very interesting. Among other things that are coming out, Muhammad might not have been real. It turns out that everything that was written about him was like 600 years after he came. And for reference, Revelation was written about 30 years after Jesus came. So it's like obviously that's still within the generation being alive. Another topic about that would be the Olivet Discord, how Jesus said that all these things will come to pass or will come to pass before this generation goes or something like that. We'll read over it as another bite out of dispensationalism. But yeah, so things are changing. You know, there's revolution that's happening, Jesus revolution, whatever. I would say it's revival. Revival is coming. People are hungry for these things. They're hungry for the truth. So without anything else to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and close it there because I'm tired, and I was like, I gotta make this episode. I got to stay consistent. And so I'm doing that. And you know what? For Sunday, I'll probably just do a walk and talk. That sounds nice and easy. Just talk about things that are coming up. But that has been it for today. So thank you very much for watching and listening. May the Lord bless you, and you bless the Lord, and may he keep you. All right now. Goodbye.